from one year to the next, and the moment you see the cars on TV, they can look just slightly different to almost unrecognizable from what they were once before. We've seen all different kinds of cars over the years, ones with huge wheels, 6 wheels, 4 wheels, 3 wheels, and even 2 wheels. The FIA are the ones in charge of making these regulations for F1 cars. Oftentimes they can make minor changes and sometimes major ones each year. And just a couple years ago, they introduced the 2022 regulations, which had F1 cars turn from this to this. All for the purpose to promote safer, closer racing and make more entertaining F1 races. And these regulations have done exactly that. F1 cars run so close to each other with constant battles, overtakes are endless, and on-track action has been simply unmatched. But unfortunately, that's just what the FIA wants you to think, as well as British media, Liberty media, some people in the F1 community, F1 themselves, and of course, the most devious of them all, F1 kids. Do not let their smiles fool you. All of these guys want you to believe that the new regulations are absolutely amazing, but truth is, they're not. Because what if I told you that these new F1 car regulations that we have now are actually completely useless? Now wait, put the gun down, relax. This is just a video about regulations, relax. Okay, I wouldn't go as far as to say that these regulations that we have right now are useless, but I can confidently say that they've had such a minuscule impact compared to what was promised by F1, and it's actually more disappointing than you think. And it all has to do with weight and size. Holy shit, are the cars big.
Here's the chance for Oscar Piastri. Lando has landed.
Let me take you guys back to 2012. I was still pretty young at the time, not really, baby levels of young, but just young enough to call Formula One the car racing channel. Do not ask me how I came up with that. As I watched the car racing channel over and over again on my TV, it was amazing, which probably had to do with 2012 being one of the greatest F1 seasons of all time, having amazing racing and of course the legendary grid that gave us those moments. Like, you just know this grid was legendary since this was the time where Romain Grosjean was actually a good driver. This was him in 2012. He was absolutely on fire. And then fast forward a couple years later, here's him on fire, but as you can see, in a completely different way. But what particularly stood out for me in the season were the cars. They looked absolutely terrifying. Obviously, the early 2010 F1 cars may not be the best looking ones out there, like the 2014 penis nose cars, but in 2012, the cars looked like monsters. Take the RB8. If you had that thing roaring behind you at 250 kilometers an hour, you would shit yourself. These cars with their box noses, narrow cube-shaped rear wings, and rectangular build with sharp angles may not look so good, but they looked like hornets. They were sharp, light, fast, and made you want to shit your pants. And with how amazing the 2012 season was, many thought that the FIA would keep these regulations and continue to further improve it from there. But the year now is 2024. Things are dramatically different. When we take a look at the current F1 cars, we can see straight away that they are so much bigger. And I mean so much bigger. Like, these cars are straight up chonky. Compared to the 2012 cars that weigh at 640 kilograms, the 2024 F1 cars now weigh 798 kilograms. Like, what is that even equal to? Like 3 Discord mods? The keywords here are weight and size. Since the latest F1 cars are heavier, they are also so much bigger. While the width of F1 cars hasn't dramatically changed, its length certainly has. The 2024 F1 cars are roughly 1.13 meters longer compared to the cars in 2012. When we first take a look at an F1 car, the first thing we notice is obviously how it looks. And I can't help but say that the 2024 F1 cars just straight up look fat, slow, and chunky. Although they still do have that very modernized and sophisticated look to them, which a lot of you guys may like. Especially the side pods and water slide design at the back end of the car, which is just that is beautiful. Looking at the current F1 cars alone, they look pretty awesome. But the moment you put them alongside the 2012 cars, you can't help but notice that the latest F1 cars just straight up look like dropped dough. Compared to the 2012 cars that look like hornets, the 2024 cars look like butterflies. They might seem beautiful, but they lack that fierce and fast mobile look. The RB8 looked like an absolute beast that everyone was afraid of. And then take a look at the RB20. The only reason why people are scared of that car is not because of its design, but because Max Verstappen is behind the wheel. Sure, you can say that the 2024 cars look better than the ones in 2012, which I can completely understand. But if you are going to say that this looks better than the F2004 or the F2008, to the people saying this, please seek a doctor immediately, as something has happened to your eyes. But let's cut the bullshit. F1 cars can look like Reliant Robins and I'd still watch the sport. Because what truly matters is whether these new cars are entertaining or not. The new regulations brought upon a goal to allow for more exciting and entertaining F1 races. And what makes entertaining races? Overtakes. Overtakes fucking suck. Weight and size are once again the main villain. The larger dimensions of the latest cars, which can be on par with the Ford F-150 or your mom, can take so much more space that overtakes are increasingly difficult. Take Baku 2017. From a subjective point of view, the cars look significantly smaller compared to what we have now. Daniel Ricciardo even pulled off a dive bomb, overtaking 3 cars into one corner while being alongside 2 other cars. This just had me go, holy shit, how did bro do that? Then fast forward to Baku 2023. If Daniel Ricciardo wanted to try that exact same overtake, he would have to pray to Italian Jesus to not end up with a collision.
For the left, but he's going to try and dive down the inside. They have crashed!
While the width of these cars might seem like the biggest perpetrator behind drivers not being able to overtake, since they take up so much of the track that if you replace the Formula 1 cars with pickup trucks, no one could tell the difference, the actual enemies here are weight and length. These make the current cars less nimble. Don't know what that means? Bam! Quick and light in movement or action. Agile. The 2017 cars were lighter and slightly shorter, allowing for Daniel to pull off that beautiful move. Don't even get me started on 2012. The cars were so nimble, having nearly 160 kilograms less weight and are so much shorter. This allowed the cars to be so agile, allowing drivers to pull off moves like these.
Here's the chance for Oscar Piastri. Lando has landed. Here we go.
You can make so much with butterball ground turkey.
Oh, almost everything.
Turkey meatballs.
Yum.
Turkey enchiladas.
Turkey lasagna. Deb's turkey bolognese. You won't even believe.
Wow.
Now let's take a look at the new cars.
Damn, this feels pretty fast.
Sluggish, fat, bulky, and your average Waffle House customer. This is how you would define the latest F1 cars in comparison to 2012. The increased length makes it difficult for drivers to get that twitchy, fast turn response of the car, and the weight certainly doesn't help. It's like comparing an Iron Man suit to the T-60 power armor from Fallout. Essentially, in overtaking, the size of the current cars already take more space on track, making gaps harder to find. And with the increased length, it reduces the nimbleness of the car, making dive bombs and fast moves rarely ever happen. And even if we did get to see some awesome moves in recent years, it takes 2 competent drivers to not crash into each other and a track big enough to accommodate the cars. Obviously, overtakes aren't the only source of entertainment. Wheel-to-wheel battles could already be enough to light up the average motorsports fan. So with the latest regulations, how do wheel-to-wheel battles compare to overtakes? Well, they're equally ass. Now, I know you guys are thinking, Rick, are these regulations any good? You've been shitting on them the entire video. Did the FIA not get anything right? And well, they actually did get something right. Safety. Let me bring you Roman Grosjean. A couple years ago, he decided to cosplay as a fireball, and while the 2020 cars were safe, they were not safe enough. If he had the exact same accident with the 2024 cars, he would come out unscathed. Zhou Guanyu, George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Lance Stroll, unfortunately, have come out A-OK after life-threatening crashes. Safety has been a priority of these regulations, bringing in such a huge improvement. But that meant increased size and reduced agility comes with the added safety, meaning drivers who dare to partake in wheel-to-wheel battles end up with a collision almost every time. Take, the China Sprint. Oh my god, there's finally a battle on track. Holy shit. shit, it's Alonso versus Sainz. This is absolutely insane. Oh, and they bang wheels. They bang wheels. And he dives to the inside, late braking. Oh, and Perez squeezes past. And Fernando has a puncture. God damn it, man. Because of these consequences, drivers now won't go for a gap as often, decreasing the amount of wheel-to-wheel battles we get to see on track. Now I know, but Rick, we've actually seen plenty of battles and overtakes with the new regulations. And honestly, to an extent, that is true. In the first 18 races of a season, with 2012 sitting right in the middle, 2022 had 5 more overtakes on average in each race compared to 2021. Which is not exactly a lot considering they changed the entire car design. But still, a lot of people believe that, especially in the 2023 and 2024 season, we have seen so much more overtakes. Problem is 90% of them happen in the fucking straight. Let me bring you guys a quick comparison between China 2024 to China 2018. You have to be blind to not tell the difference.
And Romain Grosjean going wheel to wheel into turn 1. Fernando Alonso stays ahead. DRS, he's got past Raikkonen. Can he make it stick into the hairpin? There he goes again. Down that back straight. Ricciardo goes for it from a long way back. This would be sensational. Big opportunity for Charles Leclerc, trying to make amends for losing places off the line, and he makes the pass into turn 14. This one. And down the inside goes Max Verstappen on Lewis Hamilton. He's been caught with DRS trying to take the place away. Fernando Alonso can't do anything about it, won't do anything about it. Bottas covers it off, but he can't cover it off totally. Ricciardo somehow finds a gap there.
Obviously, this is still a lot better compared to some of the races in years like 2019 and 2020. Back then, you only had a few chances to overtake, and now you can go lap after lap. But in tracks with tricky corners like Baku, Hungary, and Canada, which are tracks with the least overtakes in 2023, drivers can easily shut the door into corners, making defending an ease. But then results in overtakes just not happening, or 90% of them just end up being on the straight. A lot of F1 fans are starting to notice that even if we have gotten more overtakes and battles over the years of these new regulations, the quality of them have significantly dropped. And we've started to notice this only in 2023 and 2024. Because what if I told you that the FIA has actually reverted the progress made by the 2022 regulations, which, if you can recall, was to promote closer racing. Now, did these regulations really promote closer racing? Yes. In 2022, F1 cars ran so close to each other, the midfield was packed, top teams were battling, and shit was going ham. But there was definitely room for improvement. As I've said, the cars are too big, meaning that even if they ran close to each other, getting a move done in a tight corner can be near impossible. Back in 2012, cars can just dive in from so far back, but now cars have to be really close or even alongside to have a good chance to stick a move, meaning that even if the cars ran close in 2022, in the years ahead they have to continue to run even closer than they already do, an improvement that is very much possible. But instead of improving the 2022 regulations to make the cars run even closer to each other, in 2023, dumbass FIA decided to lift the cars up because Lewis Hamilton was bouncing so hard in his Mercedes, then Toto Wolff was bouncing on his dick. The lift generated so much more dirty air, which made it difficult for cars to follow each other, overall defeating the main purpose of the new regulations in the first place. While as of 2024, the cars still run closer than the old regulated cars, the bulkier nature of them just makes the difference so minuscule. Sure, the cars might run closer, but overtaking is also harder to pull off because, like I said before, reduced nimbleness, and let's not forget the gigantic size of the cars. Hello everyone, today I'll be drawing the 2024 F1 cars. Let's begin.
Country roads, take me home to the place I belong.
Oh, and that is dope. What did I tell you guys? A lot of you know me as the man who is simply better and correct. While that may be a fact, what's also a fact is that the main priorities being closer racing, safety, and entertainment, the latest F1 cars have become extremely safe, however sacrificing their size and weight, impacting looks, overtakeability, nimbleness, and wheel-to-wheel battles. While there are a lot of flaws to the current regulations, the only thing Formula One can do right now is to try to improve it by first making the cars lighter, which is what we can expect in 2026. Although I have a feeling that the FIA is probably going to find a way to fuck it up. Obviously, we can't expect F1 cars to go back to their 2012 sizes because the standards for safety have significantly familiarized. At the end of the day, the 2012 F1 cars are a form that we will probably never see F1 cars take again. These cars were smaller but fiercer, lighter but agile, and gave a lasting impression. When you have that car screaming behind you, you can only beg for one thing. Please don't overtake me. And as for the 2024 F1 cars, that impression is relatively unchanged. Except you'll be saying, please don't eat me.
The Aston Martin AMR 23 is perhaps the car that's got most tongues wagging in the opening days of testing of the 2023 Formula One season here in Bahrain.
Try around the outside, but he is going to try the inside of turn 10. What a super line, and celebrates a dream debut with Aston Martin. Alonso. Lewis Hamilton is in the slipstream of Fernando Alonso. These two had a great battle here last year. There is no battle this year. Up to the inside. What a great move from Fernando Alonso. Alonso is second for his return to the podium. Fernando Alonso getting past Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg trying to hang on to the point here till this year. Hamilton getting past, and Alonso's fears about the race pace are proving correct.
Aston Martin in 2024 has been one word: mediocre. Before the start of the season, the team hyped their fans up so hard that they would see a fight for the Drivers' Championship, maybe the Constructors, Alonso to have a brilliant start to the season like in Bahrain 2023, and even Stroll as well, even if nobody likes that motherfucker.
There's an endangered species right there.
Just to get some mid-ass results, and even had Alpine, Haas, and Williams be faster than them in more than one race. You just know that this team is in the shit when people are saying that Adrian Newey is their only saving grace. And even if the team does have Newey, it doesn't change the fact that Aston Martin's 2024 season is actually beyond saving. They hyped themselves up to be a strong contender for the championship, but now, even if Fernando would win the rest of the races this season, he still won't be in the championship fight.
How? Hold on, bro. How? How you? I'm saying how? Like, talk to me, bro.
Aston Martin has been absolute booty cheeks so far this season that it's actually pissing me off. And I know you guys are pissed too. Heck, you don't even need to be an Aston fan to be frustrated. The team has fumbled the bag.
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
And they managed to pull that off through a multitude of different factors that you would have a stroke the moment I list them down, which is exactly what I'm going to do in this video. So let's just quickly get into my rant of what has been ruining Aston Martin, starting with the car. It's shit. No pace, no speed, no efficiency. Just straight ass. Before the start of the season, Aston Martin revealed their 2024 car, the AMR 24, and promised us that it would be a strong contender for the championship. They were so confident about it, a car finally able to challenge the likes of Red Bull and McLaren. And we kind of had that for a bit. As in, for a day. In Bahrain 2024, Fernando qualified in P6, which was only one position down compared to last year. And everyone was going, oh, that ain't too bad. The team might actually deliver again. Until the race.
That is a pass for position. That is Lando Norris getting past Fernando Alonso.
McLarens have steadily passed Fernando Alonso. Lando did it a while ago. This is Oscar Piastri sneaking up the inside.
The green Aston Martins on the main straight, and that swap of position.
Aston Martin's race pace went out the fucking window. It was non-existent. Alonso went from fighting Mercedes and Ferrari for the podium in 2023 to fighting his teammate for a point. A point. I was in tears. And it continued to be like that throughout the season. The AMR 24 had decent qualifying pace, thanks to Fernando's ability to drag tractors into places they shouldn't be able to be in the first place, like P4 in Saudi Arabia, P5 in Japan, and even P3 in China. But the car had terrible race pace, so he lost all of those places in like 10 laps. And just before you think it couldn't get any worse, in some races, the AMR 24 couldn't even have decent qualifying pace. Miami, P13, Imola, P13. So the car was not just horrifying in the race, it was also horrifying in qualifying. God, that rhymes perfectly, but man, am I in pain. Aston Martin fumbled their season start so hard that Alonso has 33 points after 7 races compared to the 96 he had in 2023. But thankfully, even with a bad start, there were still fans believing that the team would improve. And these people were very, very optimistic. But unfortunately, a more fitting description for them would be extremely delusional. Because there's one other thing I want to point out. Upgrades.
An F1 team season start can be complete garbage, but upgrades usually help the team improve mid-season. McLaren did it in 2023 with a brilliant comeback in Silverstone and even did it in the 2024 season, topping off Red Bull. And Aston promised us the same in Hungary, where upgrades were going to be brought in to improve the AMR 24. And of course, us Aston fans were excited to see our GOAT Fernando Alonso and an actual GOAT in a potential rocket ship. And as we waited, Hungary finally came.
Fernando Alonso, these two have raced each other already this year, but that's a tidy move and an easy pass for the winner of the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah, so the upgrades didn't fucking work. Upgrades have been Aston Martin's biggest weakness for God knows how long. The team likely has no idea what it is and probably mistakes it for downgrades, because it appears that every time they bring upgrades to the car, it gets slower. We can even see this in 2023. The team had a phenomenal start to the season, but they started fading because they didn't know what to do with the car. We can see it here, here, and here. These are car development charts for the 2023 season, and Aston Martin has lost pace in all of them. Even Williams managed to gain more time, and they don't just have a tractor of a car, but also a bulldozer of a driver. A moment of silence for Logan Sargent, by the way, or should I say Logan Sargoat. He truly will be missed.
And it's Gemini!
But back to this disgrace of a team. I guarantee you if Aston Martin just fixes this problem, they would be unstoppable. Now, some people suspect Aston Karting's upgrade problems are because the team likely has some management issues in that sector. But I think it's because Inspector Seb is no longer a part of the team. A huge blow to Aston's development program. Thankfully though, Inspector Nando has been cooking lately, so hopefully that allows Aston to pop off later. Jokes aside, I understand the team has been working hard, and no offense to the people who have been. Huge credit to them. Sometimes things don't work, and that's okay. Better luck next time. However, what's still keeping me pissed about Aston is the hype they try to generate without backing it up. In almost every social media post, article, or interview, the team tries to glaze themselves so hard while delivering the most mediocre results. Crack, confident Aston Martin can close gap to F1 rivals with development. Yeah, so that didn't happen. By a long shot. They're all bark, no bite. The team needs to know that silence with results is better than yapping without any. They're acting like the team is hot shit and making social media edits as if the car is actually fast, when things are actually burning to the ground. Although Fernando's TikToks have been fire, so I'll forgive the social media team for now.
I think people gain a tremendous amount of wisdom when they travel, when they wander.
But pretty much, Aston had a horrible season start this year, but add in capabilities of bringing in upgrades, they now have a horrible mid-season as well, officially throwing away all chances for the championship. Yeeted that shit to fucking Narnia. So all we can hope for now is Alonso's 33rd, which he could have gotten like last year, if the team just knew how to fucking upgrade. And I know a lot of you guys are asking, Rick, why haven't we heard you talk about Stroll? And well, don't worry, I'm going to, because he's the next problem. Who could have guessed, huh? One other reason why Aston probably can't develop their fucking car is because one of the people they're asking for feedback on how to improve the car is Lance Stroll. And this is what his feedback sounds like. This man bitched so hard in Japan, my ears started ringing. I mean, to be fair, the car was shit, but you don't see Alonso complaining. But overall, yeah, Lance is a mid-driver at best. It didn't even take him 2 races to bin the car this season. But well, we already know that he's a huge problem. So I won't even bother to complain about him that much. Other than, I want Max to replace him in 2026, or Sebastian. This lineup would actually make me bust all over the place. And I would also bust if you guys check out the Patreon. I'm planning to upload an extended rant on Aston Martin there, and of course there's also a chat room for live race reactions. So if you guys want to hear me yap more, link is in the description. But anyways, what if I told you that there's actually a bigger problem than Stroll? A problem so big that it makes him look like this in comparison. And it's something called the Strollers. I just came up with that name last minute, but what I'm trying to say is die-hard Lance Stroll fans. Now, first of all, I thought these people didn't exist, but after just 20 seconds on F1 Twitter, aka the shithole, I guess they do, and I swear they are absolute NPCs. any other F1 driver worshipper, Lance Stroll fans meat ride the guy so hard. They glaze the man into oblivion without even considering his most visible flaws. And there's a lot. And also, they always try to convince people that Stroll isn't actually that bad by saying shit like, at least he's better than Mazepin. Like, alright man, put his pants back up when you're done. But the thing that annoys me the most is when strollers say that Lance is better than Fernando Alonso after he qualifies closer to him than usual. These people actually need to be studied. The moment Lance qualifies closer to Fernando, they glaze him into oblivion and Fernando gets flamed. When in reality, that moment happened after a shit ton of crashes. Why do they never talk about those?
Going up to Radion. Was that just aquaplaning there?
It's exactly where we saw Norris have his moment, except...
Oh no, Stroll's got a puncture.
Stroll has a puncture and his amble up to the back of Pierre Gasly.
This is Stroll.
He had Stroll driving like it was his first go-kart race and not... I don't know what went through his brain when he saw his blue flag, but that cost another second.
I have no knowledge of any of this. This is so bizarre.
Stroll also drives better the shittier the car is, because in a shit car, Alonso can't extract much more out of it, allowing him to finish closer. And plus, has it not ever sunk in for you guys that maybe, just maybe, Lawrence Stroll is paying Alonso to be slower in races to make his son look better? And just before you think that Alonso wouldn't take that bribe, I want you to think of the phrase, $20 is $20. I have seen some of the straightest, most heterosexual men fold under zero pressure after being offered $20 to do some devious stuff. Heck, I've seen people not even hesitate if they get offered more than that.
You got to put 100 mil. I'm sucking it. Shaquille. Damn, let me get my shit off her. Damn.
So what makes you think Alonso wouldn't take it? Money's money, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sucking it.
Dick jokes aside, Lance Stroll can occasionally perform better than usual. But not gonna lie, that doesn't make him any better than Alonso in any way, shape, or form. And with that being said, let's actually talk about Fernando Alonso.
Driving is what drives me. But when the day winds down, it's back to the...
Fernando has been brilliant for most of the season so far, but there have been cases where in qualifying, Lance can find better lap times than him, which was concerning. It mostly happens in Q2, and when it comes to Q3, there's a lot of times where we know Alonso can be significantly faster, but he just messes up somewhere in the lap. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think he's a great driver, but Q3 has been Alonso's biggest weakness for the majority of his career, and now it's been pretty visible this season as well. And that's because Fernando is extremely unmotivated right now, because the car is complete dog shit.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
And when Alonso gets a shit car, he doesn't even bother. Now, he still pushes, but there's a point where he just stops caring.
The engine was going much slower than before. Amazing.
Because he knows no matter how hard he can push, the car ends up barely in the points anyway. It's actually so depressing how Aston Martin fans went from hoping for a podium or a win every race weekend to hoping for a point. We're cooked. But the problem isn't just that Fernando is extremely demotivated. It's also the fact that when Fernando is demotivated, he kind of takes the whole team with him. Team motivation is also another one of Alonso's biggest weaknesses. If something goes slightly wrong, he loses his patience very easily, and it has the potential to bring down the morale of the entire team. Which I really hope isn't the case, but it does seem like it. It's very reminiscent of his McLaren Honda days, where Alonso can become very difficult to work with if things get bad, so Aston is going to need to rely on other ways to motivate the team. But with that being said, Fernando being frustrated is still completely understandable. He committed the rest of his career to Aston Martin, so obviously he's going to try to make the most of what he has left. And if the team is going to severely underdeliver and make false promises, then yeah, he's going to be pissed. Also, I think Aston has been way too focused on the future that they forget what's right in front of them. Everything I hear about this team is about what their plans are for 2025 and 2026, like potentially hiring Max Verstappen. Guys, why don't you potentially build a car properly first instead of one of these? And the Honda Power? I'm honestly not that excited. It might be GP2 all over again. Ultimately, the team is in the gutter right now, and as long as these problems exist, Aston Martin is gonna keep being Aston midfield. I am praying that they improve in the future though, because they do have a lot of potential, and all it takes one good upgrade would solve like half of their problems. And overall, I'm confident in the team's ability to do so because they have a lot of talented people in the team. From experienced engineers, crew, to world champions, allowing the team to have a very bright future. Never fucking mind.
The probability of me understanding this is 0.
You should AI that with Copilot.
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Skyblock is a vast land with a bunch of different islands, and with the recent Lotus Atoll update, we probably got one of the most useless ones ever. So that got me thinking, what are some islands that are still completely useless in 2026? Okay, as you just saw in the intro, I just had to get this one out of the way. This is probably one of the most overlooked islands of all time. It's the newest one, but look, the servers are already abandoned. I don't see a single person here. I'm not even finished with the update myself, but I honestly just quit because it is just that boring. Like, the content on the island as well, you just have to think about it. All the different lines, they contribute to only trophy fishing and trophy fishing only. Like, for example, the frog pet upgrade, the trophy fishing line, puddle jumper hook, it all just is just a loop that contributes to fishing on this island and trophy fishing on the Crimson Isles, which in itself is no fun. The sea creatures are also kind of repetitive. They don't have any exciting drops, as it only helps trophy fishing, as I just said. So it is pretty lame. It doesn't help you with progressing in things like combat or any other skill. It is just like an island that you don't really need to go to if you want to progress in the game. Like, honestly, you could survive without ever stepping foot on this island. And to me, that is pretty useless. Look, even the shards here only help with fishing on this island. There's no purpose in going here except for Skyblock XP and just completion in general, or maybe making your life on the Crimson Isles easier. So for me, this is like a no-go, bro. This island has to go. 1 month later, I'm starting to realize this was just not that great of an update. Like, I was very hyped for it in the beginning. It's just not it. Like, the content here is boring. There is no fun. It's very repetitive, and it doesn't lead you anywhere forward in the game. So you're not progressing your character in different skills. It's only really trophy fishing and fishing on just this island. And just so you guys understand my point, let's take the Bayou for example. Here we have the Titan of Boa, the Tiki. They have 2 fantastic drops. We have the Snake Eyes, which gives you treasure chance everywhere. We have the Tiki Mask, which is the best in slot hotspot helmet. Like, you can just use it everywhere, not even on the Bayou. And you have the Titan of Boa Shed, which also helps you everywhere. You get 2 double chance wherever you go. To the Lotus Atoll's defense though, it is mostly fishing focused. Like, you're not really progressing in other skills just by being here. I guess there are some items like the half-eaten mushrooms that give you like farming fortune on mushrooms, like a very small amount, that tie into the other parts of the game, like a very small bit. But otherwise, I would not count this as like a required update or like a required island to beat to. But I wouldn't call it useless, as it does really help you with fishing everywhere on Skyblock, not just the Lotus Atoll. Alright, time to talk about the next island. This was probably a pretty obvious guess, but it is the barn. I'm mostly including this part of the barn for now. There is literally nothing here. I know the islands are connected as the farming islands if we go here, but also on this island there isn't that much content. Like, there's pretty much only collections, which you can like grind from minions. I guess you can just move these to some other island, but besides that, like, I feel like there's nothing really here. There's minion upgrades and collections and a shop that you can use for fishing. So just to start this off, the content here is like non-existent in my opinion. and the fun is also bare minimum. There's nothing fun to do here. I remember this island was useful for grinding animal types, like for the Year of the Witch, you have to kill mobs with the animal mob type, but then later everyone discovered you can just go into F4 boss fight and just kill the mobs there. So this island is just completely useless. There's like the farming, like the garden is just way better for farming. Like who's ever doing this? You unlock it so early. There's not even a point in doing this. And I don't even know if farming fortune works on private islands. Maybe it does, or maybe it was only on your private island that it didn't work. I don't remember though. There isn't even a quest here. They did say they would add chapters here, so that is, I guess, something cool. But the only redeeming quality is this guy, Moby. He has a cool little shop, but besides this isn't just early game items, honestly, just used for fishing too. This is pretty good, but if you just care about, like, if you don't really care about fishing, you don't really need this. Like, this is a good early game money making method, I'll give you that. In the long term, this island is also really forgotten. I very rarely remember that the first part of the barn even exists. I guess you could make an argument for making it easier to get your medals in the beginning. Like you can go here during Jacob's contest and just like harvest everything. That still is a stretch, as you can't just unlock the garden. You don't really need the medals before you do the garden, so that's just a silly argument in my opinion. Oh yeah, and they did recently revamp this. I didn't even know. Wow, this looks way better. Like you have the mangrove strip logs. I did not even realize they reworked this island. Like, was it just this building? Or was it this too? Yeah, it was the strip logs. Dude, I've completely forgotten what the island looked like before. Oh, we have this guy. Are you from YouTube? Yes, I'm from YouTube. Wait. Yes, I'm from YouTube. Yeah, you're gonna be in the next video, bro. Lucky day to be you. Although, I don't really want to write this off completely, as there is a pretty good money-making method from what I've heard, and that is pelt farming. So what a lot of people do is that they talk to Trevor and they get a quest like this, you just accept it in the thing, and you go to the location where the mob is at, and then you go to Talbot and you can buy every single one of these things, whatever you want from this guy, and just sell it on the auction house for extra money. They also did recently buff the rates of pelts. I think you permanently get more, but they removed the Finnegan perk, so now you just always get more pelts. So if you want to make a quick buck early game, just go and farm pelts. Like, this island is great for making money. Otherwise, not really. Like, the pelts are only really a money thing. Besides the pelts, there's nothing really here, except for Jake, which is like a gimmick. You get all these axes, like animal axe that you could put in a museum, but if they didn't exist, they wouldn't really matter at all because they have no practical use from what I know at the moment. So I would write this island off as very useless, but not completely. I don't want this video to turn into me shitting on early game islands, but this one is truly just useless. I do not understand why we don't just go straight to the deep caverns after coming from the hub. I feel like having the gold mines in between just is useless, because this has every single ore, and this has just gold, coal, and iron, if I remember correctly. And Rusty, this guy could have definitely been in the hub or some other island, even on the deep caverns. Like, every single thing here is useless. Like, the mines are utter garbage. There isn't even a single mob here. You can do all of this on the deep caverns. I do not understand why this thing even exists. It feels like just like an extra island to be here just because. I mean, I don't want them to remove it, but don't make stuff like this in the future, because it just feels very useless. I mean, yeah, we barely get islands, so I doubt they will add useless islands in the future. Like, they wouldn't spend this much time on just making some...
Why do these guys not move? I'm in a fast lap. Dickheads. Beautiful. Beautiful. Hey, this is guy blind? What the is wrong with him? Blind honestly. Blind mother. Yeah, it's not working. No, it's not working. I couldn't do anything there. Take. So the engine is half-baked. What a joke. Son of power. Fuck. Yeah, I'm stuck. This is what you get with this shit show.
That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call gamer rage. The expression of violent and impulsive reactions through excessive frustration or bad faith. Or how I personally like to describe it, the average experience playing a Formula 1 game.
Move! Russell, move! Move! Russell, would you move?
The point is, if you've played video games before, you most definitely have experienced gamer rage. And of course, how is this term related to Max Verstappen? Well, it's because like most of us, this man is a gamer, and a really angry one too. For those of you who don't know, Max Verstappen is a certified sim racist. Racer, sorry, fuck. And being the gamer that he is, this man is invested in sim racing just as much as he is in Formula 1, if not more. He's on it almost 24/7. He's part of a team called Redline, and when you take a look at the team's lineup, Max just looks like the final boss. He sim raced in Imola 2024 just before the Grand Prix, sim raced until 3 a.m. the same day as a race again, which might have affected his performance this time, more on that later. Raged when the servers kept going down in the Le Mans virtual 24 hours.
They call it, it's amazingly bad luck. Well, this is just incompetence. This is already the third time this happens to me now that I get kicked off the game while doing this race, so it's also the last time I'm ever participating.
And even got revenge on another sim racer.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh no, Redline have hit all each other.
And it's Verstappen that hits Pinto as Haase went deep and I think ran Verstappen into his teammate.
Oh, what are they doing now?
Just wait.
Well,
just wait. Here we go. There's the statement.
This man is the pure definition of gamer rage, or just rage in general. But the anger that Max carries with him is not just limited to sim racing, and can also happen in real life as we saw before. And this rage is something we saw again in the 2024 Hungarian Grand Prix, where, spoiler alert, Red Bull went to shit. And in this video, we're gonna get right into it. As F1 entered Hungary, McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, and V-Carb were looking strong, but not Red Bull. Immediately in qualifying, Max Verstappen had problems with tire grip and just wasn't having it.
No, I don't think we can improve like this.
What's your concern? The temperatures or the...
The rain!
Okay, calm down, Max.
And while he was complaining on the radio, everyone in the pit wall suddenly looked up at the same time. Now guess what happened? Sergio Perez happened. Before even starting a single lap of the race, Red Bull was already in the shit and they couldn't get it together. One of their drivers is complaining over and over again on the radio while the other one is busy making out with the barriers. They literally said Hungary is Monaco without walls, and Checo still somehow managed to find one. This guy continues to impress in terms of disappointment. But with Sergio Perez getting out-qualified by Logan Sargent again, Red Bull had to completely rely on Max. But the McLarens got the best of him, so Max wasn't exactly happy with the car's performance and how he has to go to the hospital every week for back pain because of how many times he has to carry the fucking team. Overall, was this a horrible start to the weekend for Red Bull? Yes. And is it about to get a whole lot worse? Also yes. Especially for Max Verstappen. Diving into the race, as soon as it was lights out, Max catches the McLarens napping, Lando fumbles the race start from pole again, like usual. Oscar Piastri then takes the lead, and Max goes off track and rejoins ahead of Lando, but was told to give the position back by his race engineer so he doesn't get a penalty. And Max being Max, he became even more unhappy than he was in qualifying.
Max, the incident is under investigation. I think our recommendation is you let this go. We can talk about it later.
Why can't they not just say what they think, and then we decide? That's the...
And to make matters worse, Max then gets undercut by both Hamilton and Leclerc, so he quickly loses his cool, and this is when Max genuinely started tweaking.
Well, that's some gentle introduction.
No, mate, don't give me that now. You guys give me this strategy, okay? I'm trying to rescue myself.
So with all of Red Bull's fuck-ups stacking up, Max getting a strategy he absolutely hates, that Hannah Schmitz, Red Bull strategist, looked like she was gonna cry, Checo nowhere to be seen in the top 5, the car not being any better.
I'm -5 brake bias and the thing just doesn't turn. It's unbelievable.
And almost nothing was going to plan, Max then tries to do whatever it takes to win the race. And he kinda outdid himself. By a lot.
He laid on the brakes, he is. Hamilton covers it off, but locks up doing so. This time he gets there, he locks up, and he makes contact.
Max got so frustrated at Red Bull that he did an irresponsible dive bomb on Lewis Hamilton that made it look like they were both playing Rocket League. And once more, we witnessed Max's rage again.
He moved under braking.
I'm not even going to get into a radio fight with the other teams, Max. It's childish on the radio. Childish.
This guy got so angry that GP even called him childish. How many civil wars is Red Bull gonna have? God damn, this team is going to shit. But during Red Bull's nervous breakdown, people were wondering why Max was so angry And because many articles have reported that Max was sim racing until 3 a.m. before the race, people easily put 2 and 2 together. But anyways, Hungary ended with the saddest 1-2 finish for McLaren, where Lando had to give up the win to Oscar. I swear, only McLaren and Red Bull are the only teams capable of making a 1-2 finish depressing. But Max finishes in P5, pretty tough considering he started in P3, and his day just kept on getting worse. Because after the race, Max got an extra amount of backlash from fans all over social media, saying that his sim racing addiction may have caused his downfall in the race. And they weren't the only ones thinking that. After Hungary, not even a couple hours later, Red Bull announced that Max is to be banned from late night sim racing. Bro got grounded. This man is 26 years old. God damn. Max's gamer rage was too much for Red Bull to handle, that they had to confiscate his racing setup like they're dealing with a teenager going through a phase. I am betting that after this announcement, Toto was probably in Max's DMs like, hey Max, if you come with me, I'll let you do all the sim racing that you want. Unlimited time and freedom. Have fun. Please consider. Mwah. But let's be real here and answer some actual questions. Was sim racing really responsible for Max's outburst in Hungary? Now, some of you might think it is, but if you think for a second, it actually has a really small impact compared to other factors. I know I've been using the term gamer rage throughout this video, but that's just a way of expressing that Max is a rageful driver who just also happens to be a gamer. Never did I correlate gaming with causing anger issues, unlike the fucking media. I find it funny when people blame video games on anything, like Max's meltdown because of sim racing.
They're pressing. They're pressing. Oh my Gemini!
I'm not coming on Saturday. I'm strapped for cash.
You should sell some stuff on Depop. There's no selling fees and it's super easy.
I'm a millionaire.
I mean, sure, him not getting enough sleep might have had an effect, but he has literally done this before. Max sim raced before the Imola Grand Prix and won it just fine while even under huge pressure from Lando Norris. Where was the media then? And also, for the people who forgot, Red Bull is a literal shithole right now. There was a sex scandal with Christian Horner. Adrian Newey is leaving. The team has a lot of internal politics. Perez is fucking inconsistent. Strategies either cook or cook the team, and the car is sometimes slow as shit. Max Verstappen is literally in the worst possible environment he could be in. Apart from being in teams like Haas or Williams, of course. My deepest condolences to Carlos Sainz and Oliver Behrman. But basically, Red Bull has a lot of other horrible things going on, which played into why their race weekend in Hungary was so mediocre. And what was their solution to all this? Ban late night sim racing? Like, what happened to everything else? Why is Max's sim racing the only thing getting flamed here? To be clear, I don't mind it getting flamed because playing games until 3 a.m. is bound to get you scolded, whether it be by your parents or the Oracle Red Bull racing team. But still, why is it taking the front row seat by Red Bull and the media? And yes, I'm talking about you, Crofty. Why did you have to mention sim racing and Max not getting enough sleep like 15 fucking times?
Well, that's Max Verstappen's view, and he sounds a bit het up and very tetchy and a little bit angry at what has happened there. Sounds like the sort of guy, Ted, that might have had a late night last night. Oh, he did. He was sim racing till about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to sound too critical, but Max Verstappen is sounding like a man who stayed up late last night doing a sim race, which he did. I've said it once, I'll say it again. He sounds like a man who could have done better with a better night's sleep last night, Max Verstappen, rather than getting a good night's sleep in Budapest, which, by the sounds of it, he could probably have done with.
I swear to God, we got the memo, but it's not even the right memo. The main reasons why Max Verstappen got so mad in this race and pulled off some questionable moves is because Red Bull was absolute booty cheeks. And also, Max is just like that by nature. Max Verstappen is a driver who loves being angry. It's in the guy's DNA. We've uncovered that in the intro of this video. None of these clips had Max sim racing until 3 a.m., and yet he still goes apeshit. Max has just always been a driver who's full of wrath, aggression, and a competitive spirit, and that's what makes him the world champion that he is. But also, it can be his #1 weakness, where if Max gets put in a frustrating situation, his overtakes start to look like this. So yes, Max is just a really angry guy when things don't go his way. But of course, why does Max get angry so easily? You know, why does he have a temper shorter than Lance Stroll's dick? Well, Team LH loves to say that it's because Max is a man-child or that he's a crybaby. I think it's trauma dumping. The more you think about it, the more it makes sense. On a serious note though, it's because Max has something called a champion's mentality. The mentality to always win, and if he doesn't, he becomes extremely unsatisfied. It's what Max developed when he was still young due to his father being a competitive bitch. And that mentality shows up when he's under pressure and when he's not doing good in every race. Like, Max is so used to finishing in the highest competition that being anywhere below P3 is bad. Take 2023 for example, almost total domination. Max is so used to that when he's vulnerable, he's like a crack addict that hasn't sniffed up his cocaine. Max's race engineer, GP, literally predicted this in an interview in 2023.
My biggest fear is the moment that we do have increased competition. We're not winning every race because you see how he's treating me at the moment, and he's winning every race, so that'd be it.
Okay, so you can just drive people off the track then. Then you can tell the FIA that's how we're gonna race from now onwards. Just driving people off the road.
And using other examples in other races, the champion mentality, when Max is under pressure, he loses his cool. Take races like Austria 2024.
Unfortunately, off again. He just dive bombing, like, that's not how you overtake.
Singapore 2023.
What the are you guys saying?
Max Verstappen literally got enough sleep during these races, and yet he still went batshit insane. If that doesn't tell you anything about his personality, I have no idea what will. If you watch both Inside Out movies, you can probably guess that the inside of Max Verstappen's head is just anger. Joy is sitting in a fucking corner with a ball saying simply lovely because that's the only form of positive emotion that Max can really convey. But going back, the champion mentality is something a lot of other drivers have, not just Max. He just had a different way of how it was molded into him, aka abuse. The same mentality and rage can be seen with drivers like Alonso during his McLaren days.
The last sector is impossible, so even if you put a rocket ship, we will be 11th.
Lewis in 2022 and 2023.
And they're still dishing out warnings and penalties. Lewis, the car is bad, we know. Please drive it.
And even the 8-time world champion himself, Logan Sargent.
Are we good? Come on, please tell me we're in. Oh, what a shame.
Now it's okay, Logan, it's okay. I know you're gonna be replaced with Carlos next year, but at least the people know you've outqualified Sergio Perez God knows how many times. God bless America. But yes, Max lost his cool in Hungary mainly because that's just how he is by nature. Although some people still do think that it's because Max Verstappen is a man-child. I'm still convinced it's trauma dumping though. Like all of this in Max's childhood, this can only create a monster. But obviously, how can Max stop this behavior? I mean, I know Red Bull was shit in Hungary, there was no doubt, but Max's erratic behavior was what caused him to fumble a podium finish. Like, he could have easily gone past Hamilton if he just waited. So how can we solve this man's anger issues? Well, since Max Verstappen is a gamer, as we've discovered before, I decided to search up ways to stop gamer rage. And I stumbled across simple steps to improve your experience dealing with gamer rage. Let's have a look. Step 1, lower that difficulty. Okay, yeah, I think Max pretty much did that in 2023. He could do that again this year though, although changing the difficulty requires Adrian Newey being on your team, so skip. Step 2, take your anger elsewhere. I mean, he did take it on Lewis Hamilton, so check. And finally, step 3, take a break. You know what, guys? I think this is actually a really good step. Max, if you could just take a break from Formula 1 whenever Alonso qualifies in P2 so he can, get his 33rd, that would be absolutely amazing. And if you have a price, don't worry, Max. I'm pretty sure Papa Stroll would hotwire you $50 million for it. And you can also get unlimited late-night sim races. Have fun. Let Alonso get his 33rd. Please consider. Mwah.
You could be vaping formaldehyde, which is used in taxidermy.
Oh dear.
What?
Formaldehyde. Oh dear.
What? I knew it. Oh dear. Oh dear. What?
Aren't you an elk? I don't know what I am.
Your friends think you have a car problem. Perhaps it is your friends who are the problem. It's never just a car. Bring a trailer.
Today we're gonna go over 3 big brain scams that have claimed more victims than the average 1 million subscriber Minecraft predator. Let's go. Now a quick update on my ban. I did appeal and get unbanned, but Hypixel kind of has me on the leash right now. More on that later. Now, because I have a 180 IQ gigabrain, I don't fall for many scams, but I hate to admit that I actually fell for this first scam. I don't have the footage, but this guy Dusty sent me a video of the exact same scam happening to him, so let's take a look. So this guy 100T Pit is asking for help to transfer some items. The item in question, Dr. Papers. These are a basic brew, and this guy has a lot of these brews. So the way a typical transfer would work is Pit would give Dusty the brews, then he would switch accounts or profiles, and then Dusty would give the items back. But to avoid any funny business, Dusty would have to offer collateral worth the same amount as the brews. But this is not your typical collateral scam. This is far more advanced. So Pit shows these brews to Dusty and goes, I need collat, but I don't remember how much they are on the auction house. So Dusty checks the auction house real quick. Dr. Paper, you can see they're worth 1.9 mil here, but they settle on 1.6 mil collat per Dr. Paper. And then they start the first part of this transfer. You can see Dusty gives 6.4 mil for 4 of these Dr. Papers. Dusty then runs out of money, so Pit then asks for gear instead. So here they're doing a Pigman sword for full trade menu of more brews, and then they do a maxed pair of superior dragon boots, and then a Yeti pet. So Dusty is giving a lot of items over, and eventually he gets skeptical and he's like, are you gonna switch accounts yet? Pit just keeps making excuses, but then Dusty eventually refuses to do any more trading, but instead of Pit switching accounts to complete the transfer, he just leaves. Just like your father. And he takes with him all of Dusty's coins and gear, worth tens of millions. But how is this a scam if he gave Dusty tens of millions of coins worth of Dr. Papers? Well, it turns out that these brews are not worth 1.6 mil, but instead they are purchasable from an NPC for 4,000 coins. So why is the mod spreading misinformation? Well, the value that the mod reports is purely based on auction house prices. So what did Pit do? He bought out every single low-priced Dr. Paper to make the cheapest one worth 1.9 mil, thus making the mod report a completely wrong, inflated value. So why does this work? Well, who in their right mind knows what a Dr. Paper is? Absolutely no one. This is such an obscure item. And when you don't know the price of an item, you check the auction house. But of course, all the prices on the auction house were orchestrated by Pit. There's a lot of crap I left out from Pit. He's just straight up lying for like an hour. If he was Pinocchio, his nose would make even Drake jealous. Now I would love to go have a little talk with Pit, but when I got banned, Hypixel told me to stop investigating these scammers, or stop talking to them basically, because it can harm moderation efforts. Kinda have to respect them. Now I did mention I also fell for the scam. If you look at this video, you can briefly see one of my chests and it's filled with a bunch of Tutti Frutti brews. Yeah, that's because I got scammed. It was 2 years ago though. This is not an old scam, but I did see a resurgence, so that's why I wanted to talk about it. Here we have Mitchell, aka Pretty High, showing us how it works. Here we have a dude, his name is Mogiek, we'll call him Mog. He is trying to sell 5 tree caps, which cost around 2 mil to craft. However, Mogiek is selling them for 800k each. This is a deal Mitchell cannot refuse, right? So they try to trade, but they are actually unable to because Mogiek has reached his daily gold limit, meaning you cannot trade any more coins today. Now Mog pretends that this is all an accident. I thought it expired, my bad. I can auction house them for you, I guess. But of course, this was his plan all along, to do the transaction through the auction house. Being above Skyblock level 50, his gold limit would have been 1 billion coins per day, so he most likely just traded this amount with an alt account or a friend, just so he could get this tree cap transaction to happen through the auction house, and you'll see why. So he goes, we'll list them on the auction house, and sure enough, the 5 tree caps are all up at 800k. Mitchell waits for the grace period to end, and then he starts buying them. So how is this a scam? Well, I'll let the video play. Did you catch it? Did you see the 4th tree cap though? Here it is. Here's the 4th tree cap, listed not at 800k, but at 800 million coins. 1,000 times the promised value. That's like buying a chicken sandwich for 6,000 bucks. It's absolutely ridiculous. This was completely intended by Mogiek. Mog knows that Mitchell is going to try and buy them as fast as possible because they're at such a good price on the auction house. So he puts a sneaky one at an extraordinarily high price. Now you might be like, well, Mogiek got so lucky that Mitchell even had 800 million coins to afford this tree cap, or else this wouldn't even have worked. Well, do you really really think that it's a coincidence that Mitchell had just enough money to purchase this inflated tree cap? There is a 100% chance that Mog checked Mitchell's purse before initiating this transaction, so he could offer a price and maximize his profits through the scam. Okay, well, you might be like, who would fall for the scam? Okay, clearly a ton of people. The amount of DMs I've gotten with people showing me the scam is absurd. Here we have this guy buying a Pico Nimbus for 1 billion coins. It's worth around, like, I don't know, 250k. Here we have Michael, who claims that the scammer Mogworld scammed upwards of 11 billion coins recently. Here's the aspect of the dragons for 340 mil, another one for 400 mil. The sword is worth around, like, I don't know, 4 mil or so. Here we have this guy buying a cat flower for 100 mil. He says this has happened to me multiple times. This guy buying a matriarch's perfume for 300 mil, again from Mogworld. The perfume is worth only 1.5 mil in the auction house. Now, going back to Mogyek, his name did get changed to Acure. You can see that this is not a one-time scam. If you look at his auction history, the sheer quantity of these items is concerning. You get the idea. Was Mogworld related to Mogyek? Very well could be, maybe an alt account or something, but probably not. This is just a popular scam right now. When I did get banned, Hypixel told me to not threaten to mass report people or else I would lose YouTube rank. So, do not report this guy, okay? I hate that I even have to say this, but should you go in-game to these scammers and threaten to find their house and dox their location? Absolutely not. If you do, I will find you and oil you up. Some people take it way too far and bring real-life threats into these situations. It's happened before, and I do not condone this stuff. This last scam, it's the whole reason for this video.
Welcome to Refresherland. Kick back with black cherry, bold and tart, or new pink pineapple. A tropical refresh.
Mercedes, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Alpine Renault, Haas, Williams, Red Bull, McLaren, Sauber, and Racing Bulls. Now what you're looking at right here, ladies and gentlemen, is not just the stupidest group of photos put together, but also the 10 teams that have made Formula 1 what it is today. And since explaining F1 is what I think I do best, I'm gonna explain each and every one of these teams to you guys in this video. Their history, characteristics, some other stupid stuff that you probably don't need to know about, but I'm gonna say it regardless. I've taken many things into consideration as well to make sure this video is as accurate as possible. Here I'm going, like Sauber turning into Audi and Alpine potentially going bankrupt. Or getting sponsored by OnlyFans. I really hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, I expect the drivers to drive the cars butt booty naked with their assholes clenched. So if you're a new fan, hopefully this video helps you in choosing which team to support. And for those of you veteran fans, I know you guys are just here for shits and giggles or what I have to say about your favorite team, but maybe you get to learn some new facts as well. So anyways, let the yapping begin.
It's a Ferrari! It's a shitbox!
Now, a lot of you guys might expect me to define this team as the brain-dead ones, the clowns in Formula 1 who keep on making mistakes, and the idiots who decide to put hard tires on in a track that is clearly slippier than P. Diddy's baby oil. And as much as that is extremely true, Ferrari is still a huge part of Formula 1. It is the biggest team in the sport, the most successful, has the largest fan base out there.
Everybody's a Ferrari fan.
And has the proudest history to look back on, from Michael Schumacher winning 5 championships to Charles Leclerc's iconic wins in Monza. As much as I love clowning on these guys, Ferrari is truly the heart of Formula 1. That F1 pays them up to $50 million a year just to exist. And for good reason too, because without these guys, 40% of F1 fans would just go bah! But jumping forward to Ferrari now, the team has become more of a meme, because they can have the highest highs, but eventually have the lowest of the lows. Like Charles Leclerc could win a race, but then sometime later, the Ferrari headquarters in Maranello would just magically set itself on fire. So this results in extreme mood swings for the average Ferrari fan. One race they could be joyful, and then bam, they want to kill themselves by next week. And Ferrari is also what I call the biggest driver edger. Pardon my lack of better wording, but it's because so many of their drivers have come so close to winning a championship, but because of some goofy shenanigans that I swear to God only happens in a team like Ferrari, they end up either scarred for life or start balding. Sometimes both. Haas are the underdogs of F1, one of the most underrated teams in the sport, and rooting for them is actually supporting a fat friend with an eating disorder.
50 dead in Alaska.
You see, like Haas doing horrible in races, it's like seeing your overweight friend not do that well in any form of physical activity. But when you see them making progress, you feel like the proudest dad in the world, and that is exactly what supporting Haas is like. When Roman Grosjean gets P4 in a race, if you're a Red Bull fan, it's just an average Tuesday. But if you're a Haas fan, it feels like you've won a fully paid 2-week vacation to Tahiti. But as I've said, fat friend with an eating disorder, so progress isn't going to be so easy, so expect Haas to be in the back of the grid or midfield 50% of the time. Also, they are the youngest team that joined in 2016, it's an American race team owned by Gene Haas, and they struggle with funding a lot, but that's what makes their good results even more special. And speaking about a team with a similar trait, we move to Aston Martin, which started off as Jordan, then became Force India, but then the owner of the team got arrested for debt evasion, and so it turned into Racing Point and now Wingstop, pretty much. Also, if you didn't know, F1 teams can change sponsors or owners, hence the name changes over the years. But what I love so much about this team, especially during its Racing Point days, is that this is a team that tries to do more with less. Back then, they never had the top personnel or resources, but they were still able to compete against top teams in years like 2020. It was so impressive. Except for the fact that they got fined for allegedly copying Mercedes, but the team has changed drastically. And thanks to billionaire Lawrence Stroll funding the team, pretty much just to give his son a rocket ship of a car, because Lance needs a fighter jet to win a race, they are now flooded with resources and top personnel from other teams. But what still sucks about Aston Martin is that nobody supports them. I have not seen more than 5 Aston Martin fans, only Alonso fans. Previously, it was Vettel fans, maybe Max in the future, but that just shows Aston's biggest weakness. They have no identity apart from their other driver. Stroll obviously doesn't count because his seat was given to him by his daddy and his ego is thicker than his eyebrows.
Refresh the everyday with Mentos Gum. Yes to fresh.
At Cognition, what we've always focused on is trying to solve for the messiness of software engineering of the real world. By getting to work with Anthropic, we've been
Now, I know I love mentioning in my previous videos that Red Bull's such a toxic, unhealthy mess of a team, and although, you know, that is very much a fact, Red Bull is still successful as hell. Despite joining in 2005, they have accomplished so much. From Sebastian Vettel's domination era in the 2010s to Max Verstappen's domination in 2022 and 2023. Though what these two eras had in common was that during them, Red Bull was highly unstable, and that is the team's biggest trait. If you didn't know, the team has a whole power dynamic system that causes this instability, you know, different influences in every sector. Feel free to pause this if you want to digest how everything works, but the most unique part is that this actually makes them fast. Unlike Ferrari that has highs and lows separately, Red Bull has highs and lows at the same time. And the most interesting part is, the lower they are, the higher they go. I probably sound so confusing right now, but let me cook. Think of it like this: the more unstable Red Bull is, the more successful they end up. But the thing is, the team is like a boiling pot. It works fine in the right temperature, but if it gets too hot, the food fucking explodes.
Chicken.
So Red Bull works just like that. They're great under pressure, but if there's too much pressure, then boom. much as I just want to end my explanation there, their history is just too good. Alpine is also known as Renault, a French car manufacturer. They've been in F1 for a while now and have had amazing moments like winning championship titles in 05 and 06, but they've also had some controversial moments like the 2008 crash gate, which was a whole controversy about Renault crashing one of their cars on purpose to help them win a race, and also some goofy moments like when the team became Lotus, Kimi Raikkonen nearly made them go bankrupt since he had a contract to be paid $50,000 for every point he scored, and he scored 390. But anyways, Alpine is a team that fell from grace. They used to be top contenders, but due to messy management, they have fallen off. Despite getting funding from like 20 different celebrities, including Ryan Reynolds, that they even made a Deadpool-themed car. So Alpine is still a midfield slash backmarker team. They don't perform bad or good, mostly in between, though people expect a decline if things get messier and also for them to not even exist in the coming years.
Every student deserves an education they can count on, one that delivers results and opens doors. For more than 25 years, WGU has made college accessible and affordable while earning the trust of employers nationwide. As a nonprofit accredited university, our online programs are built with input from industry experts, so you gain job-ready skills that benefit your career and your community. At WGU, your success creates opportunities.
McLaren is a team that caters really well towards the younger demographic of F1 fans. They're a team with a history just as rich as Ferrari's, which is why they also get paid a heritage bonus of $30 million a year. And the team has had a fair share of ups and downs, like when I started supporting them in 2016 because of Alonso.
How the hell they can overtake me? 300 meters behind me at the beginning of the straight. I never raced with less power in my life.
That ended up being the worst experience of my life. But the team has changed drastically over the years. They used to cater very well towards veteran fans, but are now far more suitable for younger fans out there. Since, they call their fan base the Papaya Army, both of their drivers are extremely young, and their social media team is the most active and up-to-date with the trends. Though Aston Martin does come in as a close second. So McLaren is a fairly light-hearted team with a lot of positive vibes around. So if you're in your mid-20s or in high school, this might be the team for you. However, they are not immune from drama, because holy shit has this team always been in drama no matter what. Now, Sauber is another important team in Formula 1. Now, a lot of people assume that this team is an absolute joke, and as of the past few years, they are not wrong. They can't score points to save their lives. They're being sponsored by a gambling company, and also a streaming site filled with idiots that crash their cars. But the team's performance now really doesn't do justice to Sauber's history. The team is a Swiss motorsport engineering company that started F1 in 1993 and eventually allowed for the iconic debuts of Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc. The team, though, unfortunately hasn't won any championships and has probably the most depressing record, but they are known as the place where drivers can show their talents to eventually move up to a more competitive team. Since 2023, however, they have just been known as the backmarkers, P19 and P20, the tractors, but thankfully Audi will be taking over the team in 2026 in hopes to save them. Mercedes, a team sponsored by a car company with a lot of things we can look back on, like the cars they used to make for Hitler. A bit too far back? A bit too far back. Okay, my bad. Mercedes joined F1 in 1954, but left a year later and only came back as a factory team in 2010. But before the team existed, they used to be known as Brawn, an F1 team that was bought for a single British pound and has a 100% win rate. It might sound like I just pulled all of that information out of my ass, but if you just pause this real quick, that would explain everything. But after Mercedes took over Brawn, this team did so much. Michael Schumacher made his return with them. They made the fastest cars out there.
I'm Jesus! I'm descendant of God!
And Lewis Hamilton won multiple championships. But what if I said that those things aren't even the best part? Because the best part about Mercedes was Nico Rosberg outscoring Michael Schumacher and beating Lewis in 2016. So technically, Mercedes was the team where we witnessed a man beat two 7-time world champions in equal machinery, while also being a Monaco-based YouTuber. And then he retired. Baller move.
It's Michael Schumacher. Whoa, wait. Shouldn't we go with Michael? He's 7-time world champion.
Yes, but Nico got twice as many points last season.
But Mercedes Mercedes is an extremely efficient team. Their team principle is calculated but extremely emotional. And a big part of the team's identity is just Lewis Hamilton. But he's left to join Ferrari, so that leaves Mercedes with the same identity crisis as Aston Martin. Racing Bulls is essentially Red Bull the sequel. They're Red Bull's second team that is most recently known as VCAR, but a lot of fans know them better as Toro Rosso, Minardi, or AlphaTauri. And since they are pretty much Red Bull's slower junior team,
I'm gonna race F1's shortest driver. That's not true. In these mega trucks.
Red Bull has a lot of control over them, from which drivers get hired, fired, or moved up to the senior team if they're desired, and those decisions are made by Helmut Marko, Red Bull's chief headhunter, who has put a lot of people, mostly upcoming talents, in the team, like Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Nick De Vries, Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, Sebastian Vettel, and Danny Kvyat. And I know, holy shit, that is a lot of drivers. And the reason why is because the team is extremely harsh, just like Red Bull. If the drivers perform, they go up to the senior team, but if they don't, they either get put back in the junior team or get sent straight to hell.
Son, I'm very disappointed in you. But as long as you're safe, that's all that really matters.
Thanks, Dad.
But one more thing.
Yes, Dad?
And finally, we have Williams, which is another great example of a team that fell from grace. They have been a huge part of Formula One, one of the most successful teams in the sport, actually, which had iconic drivers like Alain Prost, Nelson Piquet, and Ayrton Senna, and their records are so impressive that when you take a look at the team now, you can't help but say, what the fuck happened? And well, it's funding. Williams, Haas, and Sauber are pure racing teams, unlike Ferrari, Mercedes, or Renault, which are car manufacturers, which makes funding very challenging for them. Even with Williams also getting the $10 million heritage funding from F1. And this lack of money has resulted in miss after miss after miss. And therefore, the team is at a low point. But what I still like the most about them is how they try to improve. Williams is a team on a journey to get back to the top. And with a team principle that's well-spoken, motivated employees and drivers, you can't help but to root for them. So that's all there is for Williams. I know I probably missed some of their history and maybe some interesting facts about the team. So if you guys want to drop a couple more facts in the comment section, feel free to do so. Like James Vowles going to Carlos Sainz's hotel
Regardless
room to
of the
sign
type
his
of
Williams
sexual
contract,
activity you're engaging
But anyways,
in,
that is it
having
for every
information about STIs is helpful in prevention. Sexually transmitted infections are infections that are passed from one person to another during any activity where sexual fluids are shared. This includes oral sex, anal sex, vaginal sex, and genital skin-to-skin contact. Bacterial STIs are curable through antibiotics when caught early. They include chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, pelvic inflammatory disease, and non-gonococcal urethritis. Parasitic STIs are curable through antibiotics or a topical cream to kill the parasite. This includes pubic lice, scabies, and trichomoniasis. Viral STIs are not curable, but they can be managed with different antiviral medication. These include HPV, herpes, hepatitis B, and HIV/AIDS, which we'll discuss further in the next slide. Fungal infections in the genital area. These can be induced by sexual activity but are not necessarily always transmitted from another person and can be caused by other factors. They include yeast infections, UTI, and bacterial vaginosis. Remember, the most common symptom is being asymptomatic, which means no symptoms, so regular testing is important. Other symptoms include discharge from the vagina or penis that is abnormal, painful urination, lower abdominal pain, pain during vaginal intercourse, pain in the testicles, pain in the pelvic or groin area, burning or itching in the genital area, an HPV, small, flesh-colored or gray swellings in your genital area that may be cauliflower-shaped, and herpes, small red bumps, blisters, or open sores in the genital and anal areas and areas nearby. Americans aged 15 to 24 make up just 27% of the sexually active population, but account for 50% of the 20 million new STIs in the US each year. HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, invades our immune system and disrupts our ability to fight off opportunistic infections. It is highly